Let us start with the fifth chapter, The Hundred Dresses, Part 1 by El Basor Esther. This lesson, Hundred Dresses, is about a girl named Venda who claims to have 100 dresses. Her classmates made fun of her because what she claimed is in contradiction to the fact that she was always seen wearing the same dress. Her classmates found her name to be funny. It was because everyone had easier names than Venda Petronsky. Her name was different because she was a Polish immigrant who had come to an American town with her family. She was poor and did not have many friends. She was quiet and was always seen sitting in the corner of the classroom. The truth about the 100 dresses unveiled when she submitted 100 drawings in a drawing contest. They were the same 100 dresses she used to talk about. All of them were immensely beautiful. Now let us start with the chapter. Today, Monday, Vendra Petronsky was not in her seat. But nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. Usually, Venda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the last row in the room 13. She sat in the corner of the room where the rough boys who did not get good marks sat. The corner of the room where there was more scuffling of the feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. Venda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all, and nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of a smile, but that was all. So here, the story revolves around a girl named called Venda Petronsky and her classmates Peggy and Madeline, who used to make fun of her. The plot of the story opens up on Monday. Even Peggy and Madeline did not notice that Venda was not present. These were the girls who began all the teasing. Venda generally used to sit in the corner of the classroom where the not so academically brilliant and loud guys sat. It was that part of the classroom which was the dirtiest, but Venda was not like that, though extent that nobody had ever seen her laugh. Nobody knew exactly why Venda sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggins Heights and her feet were usually caked with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Venda Petronsky. Once she sat in the corner of the room. The time when they thought about Venda was outside of school hours, at noon time when they were coming back to school, or in the morning early before school began, when groups of 2 or 3 or even more would be talking and hugging on their way to the schoolyard. Then sometimes they waited for Venda to have fun with her. Now here you can see, since Venda was nothing like those boys, no one ever understood why she sat there. There were only guesses that it is because she came from Boggins Heights and her shoes were usually dirty with all the mud. People hardly noticed her in the classroom as she was silent and alone all the time. It was only before or after the school hours when group of kids used to wait for her to mock her that they thought of her. Some used to wait even at the cost of getting late for school. Now let us continue. The next day, Tuesday, Venda was not in school either and nobody noticed her absence again. But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with other children who got good marks and who didn't track in the whole lot of mud, did notice that Venda wasn't there. Peggy was the most popular girl in school. She was pretty, she had many pretty clothes and her hair was curly. Maddie was the closest friend. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wenda's absence was because Wenda had made them late to school. They had waited and waited for Wenda to have some fun with her, and she just hadn't come. They often waited for Wenda Petronsky to have fun with her. Now here you can see the fact that Wenda was not present on Tuesday as well got unnoticed. But it was on Wednesday when Maddie and Peggy noticed her absence. It was also when they waited before school to make fun of her, but instead ended up getting late because she didn't show up. Peggy was the most famous girl who wore good and tidy clothes. She sat with the toppers of the class. No one ever got curious about why Wenda was no longer coming to school. All they cared was they couldn't make fun of her. Next, Wenda Petronsky, most of the children in room 13 did not have names like that. They had names easy to say like Thomas, Smith or Ellen. There was one boy called Bounce, Billy Bounce, and people thought that was funny, but not funny in the same sense that his Petronsky was. Now here Wenda was a Pole who had immigrated to America. Her fellow classmates thought that Wenda Petronsky was a strange name because they had simpler and easier American names except a guy called Billy Bounce, which they thought sounded funny but still lesser than Petronsky. They found a name to be long and unfamiliar. This shows those children did not understand diversity and whatever they did was done out of thoughtlessness. Wenda didn't have any friends. She came to school alone and went home alone. She always wore a faded blue dress that didn't hang right. It was clean, but it looked as though it had never been ironed properly. She didn't have any friends, but a lot of girls talked to her. Sometimes they surrounded her in the schoolyard as she stood watching the little girls play hopscotch on the worn hard ground. Now here you can see Wenda was usually seen wearing a faded blue dress that did not fit her properly. Though clean, it used to look unironed. This shows that Wenda belonged to a poor family who could not afford too many dresses. Ironically, a lot of people talked to her, but she didn't have any friends because all of them talked to her in order to make fun of her. From her tale about 100 dresses to her unfamiliar name, they found it all amusing. When she used to watch little girls playing in the ground, it was at that time other students surrounded her to mock her. Wenda, Peggy would say in most courteous manner as though she were talking to Miss Mason. Wenda, she would say, giving one of her friends a nudge. Tell us, how many dresses did you say you had hanging up in your closet? 100, Wenda would say. 100, claimed all the little girls incredulously. And the other little ones would stop playing hopscotch and listen. Yeah, 100 all lined up, said Wenda. Their thin lips drew together in silence. What are they like? All silk, I bet, said Peggy. Yeah, all silk, all colors. Velvet too. Yeah, velvet too. 100 dresses. Wenda would repeat stolidly, all lined up in my closet. Then they would let her go, and then before she would gone very far, they couldn't help bursting into shrieks and peals of laughter. With no intention of hurting her, Peggy used to ask the number of dresses Wenda has in a very polite and a respectful tone. They made fun of her because they couldn't understand why she made up that story about 100 dresses. They did all this while being ignorant of the fact that it could hurt her. No one would believe her when she said she possessed 100 dresses, all lined up in her closet. As this other girl screamed in astonishment, the little girls would stop playing in order to see what was going on. Wenda would affirm their queries that she had hunted made of velvet and silk too. Sadly, after she left, they would use to laugh at her. 100 dresses. Obviously, the only dress Venda had was the blue one she wore every day. So, why did she say she had 100? What a story. How many shoes did you say you had? 60 pairs all lined up in my closet, cries of exaggerated politeness greeted this. All alike. Oh no, every pair is different, all colors, all lined up. Peggy, who had thought up this game, and Maddie, her inseparable friend, were always the last to leave. Finally, Venda would move up the street, her eyes dull and her mouth closed, hitching her left shoulder every now and then in the funny way she had, finishing the walk to school alone. Now here you can see it was hard to believe what Venda said because the only dress she was wearing was the blue one that was faded. No one was sure as to why she lied. Although they were teasing her, they were never rude to her. Thus, in the same tone, they continued asking her about the number of shoes she had, to which she replied 60, each pair different. It was Peggy's idea to embarrass her like that. Though she was polite, Peggy and Maddie, the inseparable friends, were the last one to leave school, while Venda would go back all alone with her dull eyes and behaved in a strange way. Peggy was not really cruel. She protected small children from bullies, and she cried for hours if she saw an animal mistreated. If anybody had said to her, "Don't you think that is cruel way to treat Venda?" she would have been very surprised. Cruel? Why did the girl say she had 100 dresses? Anybody could tell that was a lie. Why did she want to lie? And she wasn't just an ordinary person, else why did she have a name like that? Anyway, they made her cry. Now here you can see Peggy was not the mean girl she had been portrayed as until now. She saved kids from whoever was hurting them and couldn't stand animals getting badly treated. According to her, she was not being rude to Venda. She thought it was very weird of Venda to lie about the number of dresses she possessed, and if anything was weirder, it was her name. No matter how much they teased Venda, they never made her cry. As of Maddie, this business of asking Venda every day how many dresses and how many hats and how many things, this and that, she was bothering her. Maddie was poor herself. She usually wore somebody's hand-me-down clothes. Thank goodness she didn't live up on Boggins Heights or having a funny name. Now here you can see Maddie did not like the idea of making fun of the number of clothes and accessories Venda possessed. Not because she cared about her, but because she was poor herself. She wore clothes that were given to her by someone else. But she was not as poor as Venda. She did not live in Boggins Heights and did not even have a weirder name. Sometimes when Peggy was asking Venda those questions in that mocking, polite voice, Maddie felt embarrassed and studied the marbles in the palm of her hand, rolling them around and saying nothing herself. Not that she felt sorry for Venda exactly. She would never have paid attention to Venda if Peggy hadn't invented the dress scheme. But suppose Peggy and all the others started it on her next. She wasn't as poor as Venda perhaps, but she was poor. Of course, she would have more sense than to say she had 100 dresses. Still, she would not like for them to begin on her. She wished Peggy would stop teasing Venda Petronsky. Now here you can see Maddie didn't feel very comfortable teasing Venda, and when Peggy used to ask Venda those questions, she would silently count the marbles in her hand, pretending to play with them. If the dress game hadn't been invented, Maddie would have never known about the very existence of Venda. She felt uncomfortable not because she cared about Venda, but because she was worried she could be next. Although she was not senseless enough to say she had 100 dresses, she still wished that Peggy did not tease Venda. Today, even though they had been late to school, Maddie was glad she had not had to make fun of Venda. She worked her arithmetic problem absent-mindedly. 8 times 8, let's see. She wished she had the nerve to write Peggy a note because she knew she never would have the courage to speak right out to Peggy. To say, hey Peg, let's stop teasing Venda how many dresses she has. When she finished her arithmetic, she did start a note to Peggy, absent-mindedly distracted. Now you can see here that Venda didn't come that day, and after having waited for her so long, Maddie and Peggy got late for school. Maddie was secretly happy that they could not get a chance to make fun of Venda. She was lost in her own thoughts and couldn't study properly. All this time she kept thinking about writing a note to Peggy telling her to stop making fun of Venda, which she did write after finishing arithmetic. She wanted to write a note because she knew she did not have the guts to say it on her face. Let us continue. Suddenly she paused and shuddered. She pictured herself in the schoolyard, a new target for Peggy and the girls. Peggy might ask her where she got the dress that she had on, and Maddie would have to say it was one of Peggy's old ones that Maddie's mother had tried to disguise with new trimmings so no one in room 13 would recognize. Now here you can see, while writing the note to Peggy, Maddie shook at the imagination of her being a new target to Peggy and the girls. She was afraid that they would ask where she got that new dress from, which was actually Peggy's. Maddie's mother got it transformed with the new laces and ribbons so that none of her classmates could identify it. If only Peggy would decide on her own accord to stop having fun with Venda. Oh well, Maddie ran her hands through her short blonde hair as though to push the uncomfortable thoughts away. What difference did it make? Slowly, Maddie tore it into bits, the note she had started. She was Peggy's best friend, and Peggy was the best liked girl in the whole room. Peggy could not possibly do anything that would really wrong, she thought. Now here you can see. As for Venda, she was just some girl who lived up on Boggins Heights and stood alone in the schoolyard. She scarcely ever said anything to anybody. The only time she talked was in the schoolyard about 100 dresses. Maddie remembered her telling about one of her dress, pale blue, with colored trimming. And she remembered another that was brilliant jungle green with a red sash. Now here you can see that she wished Peggy stopped having fun with Venda on her own. Suddenly she ran her hand through her hair as a gesture to drive away all those thoughts. She said to herself, Peggy is the most liked girl in the room, her best friend, and so she couldn't be wrong. Thus she tore and threw the note away. She was also afraid of losing her friend, Peggy. After Maddie had cleared her thoughts about confessing to Peggy, she started thinking about Venda. She thought that Venda was just another girl living in Boggins Heights who hardly spoke to anybody. She remembers when Venda talked about her pale blue dress and jungle green dress paired with a red sash. The girls made fun of her by saying that she would rather look like a Christmas tree in that dress. Thinking about Venda and her 100 dresses all lined up in the closet, Maddie began to wonder who was going to win the drawing and coloring contest. For girls, this contest consisted of designing dresses and for boys of designing motorboats. Probably Peggy would win the girls' medal. Peggy drew better than anyone else in the room. At least that's what everybody thought. She could copy a picture in a magazine or some film star's head so that you could almost tell who it was. Oh, Maddie was sure Peggy would win. Well, tomorrow the teacher was going to announce the winner. Then they would know. So here you can see, while thinking about Vanda, Maddie began thinking about the drawing contest in which boys had to design motorboats and girls had to design dresses. Peggy was the obvious winner of that competition because she was the best artist in that room. She could copy exact pictures and recognizable portraits. She was sure that Peggy would win, and result were the announced the next day when everyone would know what's what. The next day it was drizzling. Neddy and Peggy hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella. Naturally, on a day like that, they didn't wait for Vanda Petronsky on the corner of Olivia Street, the street that far, far away under the railroad tracks and up the hills led to Bogans Heights. Anyway, they weren't taking chance on being late today because today was important. So here you can see on that day when the results were to be announced, it was raining lightly and thus the two best friends ran quickly to school without waiting for Vanda. Generally, they used to wait for her at the Oliver Street that led to Bogans Heights, the place where Vanda lived, but they didn't wait that day. Even if it wasn't raining that day, they wouldn't have waited for her because that day was crucial as the results were to be announced. Do you think Miss Mason will announce the winners today? Asked Peggy. Oh, I hope so the minute we get in, said Mary. Of course you will win, Peg. Hope so, said Peggy eagerly. The minute they entered the classroom, they stopped short and gasped. There were drawings all over the room, on every ledge and window sill, dazzling colors and brilliant, lavish design, all drawn in great sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 of them, all lined up. These must be the drawings for the contest. They were. Everybody stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. Now here you can see, when the best friends entered the classroom, Peggy asked Maddie if Miss Mason would announce the result or not, to which Maddie said yes. Maddie told her that she believed Peggy would win, but to the utmost surprise when they entered the class, there were drawings all over the room, bright and brilliant. They left everyone in awe. These were the drawings for the contest. As soon as the class had assembled, Miss Mason announced the winners. Jack Biggles had won for the boys, she said, and his design for an outboard motor was an exhibition in room 12 along with the sketches by all the other boys. As for girls, she said, although just one or two sketches were submitted by most, one girl and room 13 should be proud of her. This one girl actually drew 100 designs, all different and all beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, any one of the drawing is worthy of winning the prize. I am very happy to say that Vanda Petronsky is the winner of the girls' medal. Now here you can see Miss Mason announced the winners after everyone had settled. Amongst the boys, Jack Biggles had won. He drew an outboard motor which was displayed in the room number 12 along with the drawings made by other boys. Then she talked about girl submission. She mentioned that there were one such girl who had submitted 100 designs, each so beautiful that the judges felt that any out of them was worthy of the gold medal competition. Miss Mason very proudly announced Vanda was the winner of the competition. Unfortunately, Vanda had been absent from school for more days and is not here to receive the applause that is due to her. Let us hope she will be back tomorrow. Now class, you may file around the room quietly and look at her exquisite drawings. The children burst into applause, and even the boys were glad to have a chance to stamp on the floor, put their fingers in their mouths and whistle. Though they were not interested in dress. "Look, Peg," whispered Maddie. "There's the blue one she told us about. Isn't it beautiful?" "Yes," said Peggy, "and here's that green one. Boy, and I thought I could draw." She continued and sadly mentioned that Wenda has not been coming since days, hoping she would be there the next day. She instructed everyone to look at the flawless collection, to which everyone applauded and whistled. Maddie and Peggy even saw the blue dress that Wenda had talked about. It was beautiful. Peggy sighed. "I thought I could draw," which means that the drawings left her in immense admiration. So this was the chapter The 100 Dresses all about. Thank you for listening.